I love it. Okay, we are recording and we've got more people in the waiting room. If you'll keep an eye on that. So what we're talking about tonight is our theme, not your mother's menopause. And so um, many of us have, depending on our age, my mother actually will say, I had no menopausal symptoms. And I think back and I'm like, wait, wasn't that when you like uprooted our whole life and decided to move out and get your PhD because nothing was making you happy? And we also like lost the garage door opener and she had like left it on top of the car. So she will say there were no menopausal symptoms, but living in that world. And it was also a conversation like nobody really talked about, right? We talked about when's the first time we get our periods. We had, Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. But nobody had like, Are you there? Are you there, God? It's me, menopause, Margie menopause, right? So tonight
Sure.
we have some stories for you. We have some information, and we wanted to talk about why it feels hard and what's going on in menopause. And I am not a physician. I'm just somebody who loves Instagram, TikTok, reading the books, knowing the things. And what was happening for me was I felt broken. I felt like if I could just work harder, the weight was coming on, the brain fog was coming, and this all started in perimenopause. And nobody ever explained it like your biology has changed. Your body is changing. What worked for you before won't work for you now. The estrogen decline was redistributing fat, especially Jen's going to talk about belly fat, increased insulin resistance. So where I could go out and have 3 glasses of wine and rebound the next day, that wasn't happening for me. Decreased muscle mass. So I wasn't lifting heavy enough weights. And all of a sudden, and then I was, not sleeping at night. So not getting up and going to the gym. And it's just a cycle of a slower metabolism because of decreased muscle mass. For me, I would sit and watch episode after episode of Sex in the City. And that sleep disruption was spiking my cortisol, creating inflammation. And what I was trying to do was fix the new season of menopause with my old tools and the old tools that were conditioning of it's discipline, it's hard work. Has anybody ever felt that way? Like if I just could like count those macros, if I could just get myself to the gym, and we shame ourselves into this spiral. And what I found with this whole journey was that I needed a reset. And that's what you're going to hear tonight with the stories that what happens with the GLP-1, which many of the women tonight will talk about, and some of the other peptides, is that we needed to put everything into a peptide into a group text message. So we're going to talk about what is a peptide and how do they work in your body. But when I think about when I started my GLP-1 journey, that was the very first peptide that I started with, was putting everything from my pancreas to my brain to my muscles to how I was processing food that I was eating into a group message. And the peptides then were like sending out the signals. Hey, pancreas, release some insulin. Let's regulate that blood sugar. So with a variety of different peptides, me starting with GLP-1 and hormone replacement therapy, getting my hormones in line, I started to feel like me again. And in doing so, I personally released 55 pounds that had slowly compounded since 45 at perimenopause, 5 pounds a year, 6 pounds, 10 pounds, and then starting that crash dieting cycle and that cycle of shame. So what we're going to talk about tonight is women that have been where you are, that have very, very different stories and have turned to the world of regenerative health and peptides, because in the past I could find a great supplement, a shake, and then I was realizing I'm just masking the energy difference. What I needed to do was heal from the inside out and put my body in reset. So our very first person to share tonight. I'm excited. Michelle and I got on the phone, and Jen was actually with us, and I said, "Oh, I've got this 15-minute call. I'll be right back." And an hour and a half later, I walked back in the room because I felt like I had known Michelle. Like everything we were talking about, oh, yes, I feel the same way. I know. And I feel like I've known her in many other lifetimes. She has a background in culinary arts. She went to culinary school, owned a restaurant business. And then for the past 26 years, she's worked for a worldwide health food brand, and she's a holistic health coach. She's raised two kids, and she just became a grandmother 2 months ago. Like I'm telling you, these peptides in this health journey of hers is working. She looks like she's could not be a grandmother. And the thing that stuck out for me the most with Michelle was that she coaches women on how to make these changes and these shifts. She's very fit, but what she was doing, she was saying wasn't working the way it used to work. And I can't wait for you to hear her story. So, Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, we could always talk forever. I'm always like, oh, I need to talk to Beth. We had fun right away. And because I think relating to these, so many women are relating to these stories. And when you asked me to do this and I kind of, looked at my short journey with peptides. Um, like Beth said, I was in nutrition, and what happened for me was back 35 years ago, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was 27. And that was a pivotal point in my life. And I said, I don't want to take these medications. I'm way too young. I already had gut issues back then. So I knew it would hurt my stomach. So I just didn't know anything about health. I just said, I don't think I can do that. And it led me down this journey of nutrition. And, I felt much better than I did when I was really sick for a lot of these years. And, I went through perimenopause and menopause. And I just, I think the biggest thing is I just was chasing being tired all the time. Just so tired. Why am I so tired? Why don't I feel good? So I would do something else and something else and something else. And I was always up on the newest trends. And that led me to find NAD, which is my first peptide. And then I didn't think that the one I was taking was great. And I found Ellie. And I said I knew I needed an injectable. And I did that, and I felt good. But when I heard about the microdosing of the GLP and the benefits, I was just looking today, like, what did it say that reminded me? And when it said a metabolic boost, um, reduction in inflammation, and blood sugar control, I thought, oh, I mean, I need to deal with that. And right away, you guys, I mean, seriously, like within 2 weeks, I felt a difference. But what I didn't know was going to happen was I thought it was brain fog, but really now, today, when I was going through this, it made me cry twice. I have been so down and really depressed. And I was feeling, when you said that word shame today, I felt ashamed. My life is great. My daughter got married last year. And then all of a sudden they're going to have a baby and all these great things happening. And I just felt so down, and I was really isolating the last couple of years. And right away I started feeling really good on the microdosing of the GLP. And that really stuck out to me because I think, gosh, the last 10 years I've used bioidentical hormones for 15 years. I ran through 6 doctors to find the right naturopath. So I was dealing with that. And still, I couldn't get to where I wanted to go. Doing all the things. I exercise. I drive everybody insane with how I eat. I try to keep it to myself. I don't want to be a know-it-all. I don't tell people what to do, but for me, I know I have to stay on task. And now I realize, like, this is such a relief to me, to find this. And I want to help other women, I feel like, and people, anyone, because all these different peptides are so interesting. So, I don't know what else I was going to say, but
Yeah, what about, okay, one thing I was thinking about our conversation,
uh-huh,
um, the rheumatoid arthritis,
uh-huh.
the relief of that pain from just the microdosing. That was super fascinating to me.
Okay, so I had a certain amount. I've had a normal life the last 35 years. Like, people don't know I have it, but I definitely watch my CRP levels. I work closely with the doctor just to stay, I'm working so hard to keep my inflammation down. Well, when I started the microdosing, there was a whole other level I didn't know was there. Nobody would think it's there, nobody would ever, when I would say I have this like extra layer on me, and they would say, "Oh, you're thin." You know, you're just, they would put it on vanity, and it was more than that because I could
Mhm.
not. I'm a certified yoga instructor and practice yoga as long as I've had arthritis. That was one of my healing tools. And just in my yoga practice, I could tell right away doing things I have never been able to really do. Just a little deeper, all these little subtle things. So I knew that was my inflammation. I could see it in my face. I can see it in my whole midsection. And I took off those couple pounds that I struggle with all the time. A certain 5 pounds that I go up and down, and I only get down there when I do my cleanses and my, all my really strict, crazy stuff. Um, so it's been really fun. I can't imagine how good I'll feel. This is, I mean, I don't even know if I'm a month on this.
It's amazing.
So,
And I love too that story of the size of your body should determine what choices you make on the GLP-1. And this is the education of, for me, it was clear to people. I had 55 pounds to lose. GLP-1 was a choice, but somebody that would look at you and say, "Oh, well, you just want to lose 5 pounds. That's silly." But no, you're looking at that inflammation, at the brain fog, at like, and I think
mm,
the chapter is how good can it get? Like you were like,
mm,
I loved what you said is, oh my gosh, I'm only 1 month in. And
yeah.
look where we're headed. So Michelle, thank you. And I'm so glad, like, listen, you guys, I can tell you how that when she said she went through all of the doctors, she was very like even having, I was so happy she reached out to me because she found me when she became a part of Ellie and isn't directly from me and just said, let's have a conversation. Because it is making that connection and learning even within our communities how to find your people and have these conversations and figure out what is my next path. And so, Michelle, you are such a leader and innovator, and I can't wait for all the conversations because being bold enough to say, like a health coach, yes, I needed help. And I just love that
Well,
impact.
can I say one more thing?
Of
I think
course.
my biggest thing is I've led resets for, oh my God, so many years. But you know what? I have been so frustrated the last few years because I really had the aha. I'm not helping people. These girls are not losing weight. Almost every girl wants to lose weight, and they're not doing it. They're not achieving it. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, this is such an answer for so many women. So it's
Oh,
makes me hopeful there because that's how I think. Like if it's
well,
doing
and listen, I think probably 90% of the people on here have paid a lot of money to a coach to reset, to figure that out. You guys, I paid $5,000 for a coaching program, and it was still again the shame of, well, if I'm paying this money and I can't figure this out, doing all of the rewiring work, which is going to bounce us over to Tracy, who this is what she does is she helps entrepreneurs like up level. She helps them compound habits. She helps them to see the bigger vision. She speaks on stages. She has studied with Brendan Bouchard and many, many other people that we only listen to on a podcast. So Tracy, I feel like we've had this conversation of here I am helping people to take it to the next level with their finances, with their businesses, and inside suffering because why can't I apply what I know, what I'm coaching, what I'm putting into my business life in my health? And so, Tracy, I would love for you to courageously share how that looked for you when you made the decision to ask for help with the GLP-1 and tell us more about your story.
Thanks so much, Beth. Yeah, I really felt like a hypocrite. Here I was coaching thousands of people. I had coached myself through a divorce. The same day I found out I was chief operating officer, I found out my husband was having an affair. And I had coached myself through that. But here I was, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but I think it shows the power. That's me, which is very hard to see. And that's who I was coaching, right? I was 259 pounds. And this was the other day. There is so much pain caused by weight by my back, by chronic pain, by low energy, by not living our authentic selves. But I will say the power of pain has nothing over the power of peptides. And that's probably the biggest lesson to me as I went through my journey with microdosing and tirzepatide. And finally, see, I wasn't a menopause gain a few pounds that crept up on me. I was somebody that can remember my first diet in elementary school. I can remember throwing money at this problem since I had money to throw, since probably middle school. And I calculated I probably spent over $100,000 minimum. I probably lost and gained over 1,000 pounds. And this was, I couldn't get it. But finally, I had a tool in this peptide. People say food noise. For me, it was food screaming. It was food obsession. It was food addiction. And it was 100% controlling my life. And so when this became my journey, and for the first time in my life, it was enjoyable because I didn't have the screaming, the food screaming. I didn't have the insatiable appetite. So I was able to enjoy the ride. It was so powerful. And then I think what is so beautiful is as that happens, you want more health. You want to be optimized even further. And so, and I'll be mindful of time. I had a back issue occur for the third time in a row. And this time I was out of town in Dallas. I was speaking and I had to use an ambulance to get to the hospital in Dallas, and it's not voluntary there. So there was a pretty penny in order to do that. And for the first time after traveling for 30 years flying, I needed to use a wheelchair through the airport because my back was in that much pain. And from that moment on, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take control of this beyond physical therapy, beyond, everything else, because I'm not going to live in this pain. So again, the power of pain is strong, but the power of peptides is greater. And so that's when I, looked at BPC 157 and TB 500. And, that episode was in September of 24. I was having them every 2 months. I have not had one since. And then as Michelle spoke on the power of NAD, I had spent over $1,200 on infusions, on IVs that took 12 hours because you did a 5-hour IV the first day and then a 6. And it was really miserable. I have since been using our, NAD. I feel magical with it. So, just again, for anybody that's not, I know how painful things can be. Weight, emotions, going through menopause, all that. But peptides really does give you the power back. And I think that's probably my biggest takeaway and message.
Tracy, oh my gosh, I wrote that down. The power, say it again, the power of pain is strong.
The power of pain has nothing on the power of peptides.
Okay, you guys, that's gonna be quoted all over. Give Tracy credit for that one. That's powerful.
It's so true.
And isn't it? And I feel like when you said like the power of pain is strong, is that what should have been probably one of the highest highs, getting the job of your dreams, and having, the hugest amount of grief and pain, and witnessing in the few short months I've known you, who you are in this season, it's phenomenal. And so that story of pain, physical, emotional, spiritual, I mean, it's just impacting so many people. It's such an honor to hold space with you tonight on that. So thank you. And next, the ultimate glow up of Andrea. I mean, girls, women, ladies, we stumbled upon each other through a mutual friend. And, she was, I think if I look in my back office, when I said I was going to do this, the very first person that said, what is it? What are you doing? What have you been doing? I've watched you do this and I'm doing it. And now she's literally, look at this, the hair, the skin, the weight, the energy between she and Anthony, both like living and breathing peptides. Follow her on Instagram. They go live, they run a camp. I mean, it is like beautiful. And Andrea's going to walk you through. I'd love for you to share all the peptides that, like, your peptide stack. And she's going to walk you through like what it looks like when you go behind the scenes to say, hey, I'm going to click the link of the person that invited me tonight. And how do you get started on the different peptides?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. My name's Andrea. I'm in California, Southern California. I grew up in Indiana though. So like Saber, she's from Indiana. So we kind of clicked when we had a retreat. So that was really awesome to meet people that had the same passions that we do. And like Beth said, I met her through a mutual friend, and she had this Facebook group called Camp Joy. And I was like, okay, I'm a camper. I can do this, And ever since, it's just, I've been following Beth. Like she said, I saw that, she was looking better and better. And I was like, wow, she's really aging backwards. So yes, what are you doing, Beth? And she told me about it. And I grew up, I've always been overweight in some way. And I was a roller skater. I was always at the roller skating rink. So I was always physical, but the body composition and my genetics probably was never skinny. And so my mom actually passed away when I was 22, right out of college. And at that point, I was like, okay, now I don't have my mom. And I mean, I'm talking, I was heavy. I've had 2 breast reductions. I've been so overweight so many times that it's just been, I was miserable. And even with the other supplements I was using, it wasn't working for me. It might work for some people, but it just wasn't working for me. So when I reached out to Beth and she said she was doing GLP-1s, I'd heard about it. In fact, my niece, I'm at my in-laws right now, my niece was actually taking tirzepatide and she had told me about it. And when Beth said she was doing it, I was like, okay, now I believe it could work, but my niece was using ones where you had to actually like constitute them yourself at home. And I was like, okay, I'm not taking that route. So when Beth shared LEMD with me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So like she said, I started on the tirzepatide. I actually lost weight really fast. I would not recommend leaving it as fast as I did, but I did. And like we've learned, a lot of that is inflammation. It's that excess stuff we have. And I didn't lose a lot of, in fact, I've built muscle. I mean, I've never had muscle definition like this. And I do the same workouts I did before because like she said, I stack others. Samorelin is one of them I stack. I get a really good night's sleep. I used to always have to take melatonin, but the Samorelin absolutely helped me sleep, and it gives me the muscle definition. I do the NAD. Again, that's the aging backwards thing that a lot of these ladies are talking about. It really does make you like your hair grows, and it's just been amazing. I also do glutathione, which is a liver detox. I cycle on and off of that one. And believe it or not, I do the PT 141, which is the one for our sexual health. In all honesty, I don't feel the effect that it's supposed to give me, but everybody tells me you have a really nice tan. And I'm hardly ever outside. I'm always in the office at camp, or I'll go outside for a little bit. But I believe my tan is because I take the PT 141, and I take it at least twice a week. And I've heard things that it could do that, and I honestly believe it does, at least for my skin, because I'm white, really white. But so yeah, how do we get started? It's like, amazingly, I just share my story, and on my page, I've not been really open, like, hey, you should try this, but just sharing your story about it. Like Beth was sharing her story finally, after I got involved, and I was like, I can do that. So I started slowly sharing what I do, what I take, and people are just coming out of the woodworks. What are you doing? I need some of that. What are you doing? And honestly, you just direct them. We're not doctors, even though I was pre-med in college until my mom passed away, and I kind of took it back from that. I know a lot about it. I did internships at the doctor's office and things like that, but we're not doctors. We can't prescribe anything. We can't, give medical advice, but we can give them our website. And from there, they get all the information they need. They've got the frequently asked questions. They've got the science behind the articles, all that. And honestly, I think that is what really got me involved with being, I need to try all of these things, because the science behind all of the work they're doing with the cancers, with the Alzheimer's, the dementia. My dad has Alzheimer's and dementia. He's in Kentucky at a home right now. And he's been with it for 18 years. And all of it I've learned, I went to my doctor and I said, I need to get genetics. I want a genetic test. I want to know if I have any cancer. I want to know if I have any risk of Alzheimer's. I want to know all of these things, because after you do the research on all of these, I do know there's research that if you have cancer cells in you, some of these are not recommended. But if you don't, then it can, help you prevent you from getting those cancer cells. So I was like, that's what I need, because I don't want my kid to have to take care of me. I've got a special needs grandson now. And yes, I'm a grandma. I have 5 kids, by the way. And so that's probably another reason I've never been real skinny because I've been pregnant so many times. But I don't want my kids to take care of me when I'm older. I want to be able to sustain myself and all of that. So is there anything else?
Yeah, that's beautiful. So it's what, like Andrea was saying, so you go in and there's a medical questionnaire, you fill that out, and most of these peptides you're hearing about tonight are under longevity. If you're microdosing for weight loss, like Tracy and I were talking about, we did the weight loss, that there's a whole weight loss section. So I would spend some time on the website, and it's as simple as you fill out the medical questionnaire, the network of doctors, you'll have a doctor that looks. You can message inside of the portal after you place your order, and it arrives on your doorstep. And then if you still have questions, we have a longevity community where we support each other on Facebook. But most importantly, you get to have the medical eyes on it. Like, hey, I was having a little histamine reaction, which means a little bump from one of my peptides. And I went in, talked to my doctor, and it's taken care of. I just was injecting in the wrong place, and I upped I was using a little tiny needle. I went up. You guys, the needles are nothing. They're a piece of cake. So that was the logistics of it. And we're going to have my beautiful friend, Jen Magic, who she sent her bio over, and I didn't even read it because I'm just going to tell you this is like, anybody that is in her space is literally learning more about their design, how to move about the world in such a beautiful and loving way, with connection, with joy, with vision. And that's what she brings to the table here and we both were hiding our journey from each other. We kind of disappeared. When you're not feeling good, you disappear, you sit on couches and watch like 20 episodes of Suits in a day, and you disconnect. Because you're like, I'm not feeling good. And Jen and I had disconnected, and then we've reconnected through both of our stories, and then building LEMD and building out these communities. And so Jen is going to talk about what's behind this whole menopause thing with your mind, body, and spirit. I think that's what we said you were talking about, but take it away, Jen.
Yeah. Well, we'll do what we do, right? Right, Andrea? We'll just bring some magic. So, okay, wow. I mean, that was amazing and incredible. So just for a brief moment, I would like to invite you all to just take a breath and take in those amazing stories. I mean, that is like, I got full goosebumps, everyone's story, because we're just like literally honoring and cracking open this amazing part of our lives where we're giving ourselves permission. We're cracking open this conversation. We're bringing it to life. We're coming out of the closet, empowering each other. And there's always, in numbers, we're unstoppable. So I just wanted to close things out, round it out a little bit with bringing back what's really happening behind the menopause belly. I know, was it Michelle that talked about like the blood sugar, the cortisol levels? I mean, I remember, Beth and I talked about this earlier. Remember looking at older women going, what is happening? Like they have these skinny legs and this big belly. Like what in the world is happening? And full disclosure, I remember being like, why don't they just move more and exercise? What all of the 20 and 30-year-old trainers are saying to us. So little did I know, that would be happening to me. And so, it's the menopause belly that everyone's talking about. Like it's that midlife fluff that we're just like, what is happening? Like, I don't have a waist. I look like a brick. I mean, I was just like a square. It's a square. And that was one of the benefits. I've been microdosing. I microdosed both semaglutide and tirzepatide for 19 months now. I have had Hashimoto's for the last 14 years. My Hashi's is in remission, and I have released 41 pounds of inflammation. And I say midlife fluff because I have my waist back, which is amazing. So that, in speaking about just that midlife fluff, it's not just hormones, because you're going to hear a lot of hormone. Like huge advocate of hormones. I do hormones, but it's not just hormones. Hot flashes. It literally is about this inflammation, the cortisol, and also your nervous system. So that's where, I come in with a little bit of my magic and calming that nervous system down, and not even just calming it down, but nourishing it so we can bounce, because life is life and we're always going to bounce through things. But for years, we all did the things. We all talked about that tonight. Eat less, move more, hustle harder, and all that did for me was burn me out. And again, how many of us talked about the shame? A lot of us have backgrounds in health and wellness, and it is so shameful when we lose control and we can't figure it out for ourselves anymore. And like Beth said, we retreat, we go in, we hide, we're doing we're like, what is happening? So, long story short, when I started to hear the rumbles about peptides, the GLP-1s, again, I was so polarizing. I was like, I have got to dive in and do the research, because this is just, there's something here, because it kept looping back around, and there was something in that I was like, I had to dig in. And that's what I would really invite everyone in, is be your own guru. Be your own wellness advocate. Do the research. Just alone on the LEMD site, like Andrea mentioned, if you go to any of the products, scroll down, you're going to find hyperlinks to these amazing research. Oh, there's so much research out here, but be your own wellness advocate. Our job is to make you feel safe and empowered and supported in this journey. And that is really what this amazing community is all about. And wrapping that up, it's just healing. It's science led, because I have the lab works to prove it. So I will go toe to toe with anyone. But more than science, it's heartfelt. It's like you're going to feel the heart of not just our community, the community of Ellie itself. And so just really invite you to, whoever invited you tonight, make sure you tell them thank you, because they cared enough to reach out to you, to, give you a hand up into this community. You don't have to do this alone. You have support. There are options out here for us. So I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This was super, super fun. I'm looking forward to more of these. These are great. And again, if there's one little story that sparked something inside of you, there's a reason that you were here tonight. There's a reason that you heard someone's story. Maybe you got a little niggle in your belly and you're like, oh, or maybe you got a little glimmer of hope again, because someone coming from an autoimmune condition, and Michelle can speak to this also, you become very, very hopeless when you are in so much pain. And Tracy talked about that too. So we are providing that. And again, get with the person that invited you, ask them for more information, see if you can have a conversation, and jump on with us. Start your peptide journey. You will not regret it at all. What else is that? Oh, you're muted, hon.
Muted, blah, blah, blah. I was thinking as Jen was talking that this feels like a really good time, especially for those of us that have kids. We're not putting kids to bed anymore, like the plus side of this age. And so we're thinking of some speakers, getting Dr. Josiah on to speak specifically about women's health and empowerment. So it won't always be stories, but it will be conversations and different hosts each week. And I kind of like the theme, Not Your Mother's Menopause, because we're doing, someone even said to me, and now I'm on a ramble, but gosh, your hair, it's long and you're almost 60 years old. I'm like, yes, I'm going to have wildly rebellious hair. I remember Aunt Hazel cut her hair and got the short perm when she turned 40, right? You can shave your head. You can have spiked hair like Jamie Lee. You can have long hair. We don't have to dress it, look it, accept it, because we get to have this plot twist of rewriting this chapter. And a lot of that is just making that decision. And I'll encourage you tonight as we close out is if like Jen said, a glimmer of hope is, first of all, give yourself a congratulations and gratitude for all of the pain that has brought you to this point, and all of the glory and all of the gratitude. There's so many different parts of each season. But I would ask you, and those of us even that have done this, is write yourself a letter 1 year from today and really lean into, how are you feeling? What are you doing? How are you moving about the day? What is your health like? What is your business like? What are your relationships like? Maybe it's Father's Day, and like for me, I'm going to write my letter to my dad. His name is Blair, which that'll make some of you laugh, because you know, like Blair comes in and she's like always, she's like my dad was. Like, we got to make sure that everything is lined up, and I love that in a friend. And I'm gonna write him a letter and let him know like how proud he would be. I'm sure he sees us, and 1 year from today, where we will be, where all his grandchildren, and really lean into that, and then read that letter. And the last thing I'll invite you to do is to think about there are a lot of things going right in your life. So what do you want to keep doing in this season? What do you want more of? What do you want to keep doing? What do you want to stop doing? And the final thing is, what do you want to start doing? And so part of that is feeling empowered and being your own advocate for your health. And maybe ordering some peptides, even though your primary care physician has told you, like me, no, we're not going to use the GLP-1. And now she's a big advocate of it, because the proof was in the blood work and in the results. So thank you so much, Tracy, Andrea, Michelle, and Jen, for helping us bring together our first Sunday night. Whether you're not quite in menopause yet, or you're on the other side of menopause, we're just going to talk about how we can rewrite this season exactly the way we want it to be. And I want to just say, how good can it get? See you guys next Sunday at 7:30.